What is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and today we got a special guest on the Warpath, Sanchez 405. Make sure you guys check him out. I'll leave his link in the chat. Make sure you guys check him out. Great Washington football team YouTuber, and we got a lot of things to talk about today. We got the schedule, which we'll briefly talk about. We got rookie mini camp. We had 2 days of that on Friday and Saturday, and then also we signed Bobby McCain and Charles Leno this past week. So a lot of different things to talk about, and I appreciate you coming on, Corey.
Oh, appreciate you always having me on here, Pedro. It's good to be back with you, and I'm excited to talk about the schedule and mini camp and these free agent signings because it looks like Ron and company, they're building something special there in Ashburn, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Can it be fall already? Skip summer and just go into the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be really fun, and even I'm excited actually this year for preseason. With the year off of preseason, we're like there's a lot of players on this team that could really use preseason, and not even only use it, but like it's gonna be nice for us to see getting to see Taylor Heineke in the preseason, getting to see Kyle Allen, those guys like. Is Taylor Heineke, one game wonder, or is he not? Like, what if he absolutely balls in training camp and then absolutely balls in the preseason? Like, maybe he can develop into a guy. I mean, a lot of those players, Samus Reyes, get to see him in the preseason. All these rookies, we get to see those guys, and other guys that, are young guys that are trying to make the roster. Gonna be, and we have 10 rookies that we
Yeah.
drafted this year plus, Jarrett Patterson, and then also, I mean, Chase Young, Antonio Gibson, Cameron Curl, they don't really need to prove anything from last year's class, but AGG, Sadiq Charles, guys like that, they are going to get a chance in the preseason, and Kelvin Harmon as well to try to make the roster. So I'm excited definitely for the preseason a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about the schedule. What is your reaction to the schedule? Did you like it? And how do you think it'll play out?
I think the biggest gripe I had with the schedule is the last 5 games of the season, and a lot of people have told me this, like, well, you take the NFC East, you hold them more in a higher regard than most people do. It's not that. It's the fact that you're going to play three division rivals in the month of December with everything on the line. And I think it's been since 1970 that Washington's played a schedule to end the season with like 5 division opponents. But I think in 1970 it was 6. That's even when the Cardinals were back in the NFC East. And I wasn't really a big fan of that, but you got to play who's on your schedule, right? And then I think the most interesting road trip is at Green Bay, at the Broncos, back-to-back weeks. You got to go to Lambeau, place I've never seen this team win at, and then Denver, no matter who's playing on the Broncos, that's always a tough place to play at in that higher atmosphere. And for the good, I like the fact that we're going to be starting out 2 games at home against the Chargers. Justin Herbert and Chase Young, the defensive and offensive rookies of the year last year. And then you've got the Giants to open up Thursday night. So you get Thursday night football out of the way quickly. And no Thanksgiving game, Pedro. No Thanksgiving game. We can actually enjoy Thanksgiving for like the first time in like a decade. I think I may have been in like high school or middle school last time I could enjoy a Thanksgiving, but I'm kidding. But it's great to see that we don't have to worry about any major holidays. But we do get the Broncos on Halloween, so that would be fun. And then I get a game on my birthday, Carolina. They're going to go to Ron's homecoming, and hopefully I can get down there too. And Ron and I, we kind of planned that out. We were exchanging messages on the DM boards and everything like
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, I think and real quick, let me say hi to some people in the chat. What is up? Justin, Will, Winter Nation, Mike, Brandon, Blue Jay, Christian, Armin Brown, my guy, James, Three-time Super Bowl champ Skins, Carlton, King Sean, my guy, also Hassan. So a lot of people in the chat,
Yeah.
appreciate you guys for coming in. So I mean, I kind of I get the people that don't like the last 5 games of the season. Let me bring that down, because it is the NFC East. Obviously we're not there. I mean, we're not one of the better divisions of football, but they
Right.
always a lot of these games are usually competitive. Even the bad teams against the best teams. But here's what I'll say. Um, Ron Rivera's usually his teams play really really good in like November and December, and these games are going to be in December. And I think one or two of them in January. So I do like that aspect of it, and I also like that we're going to be able to really control our own destiny at the end of the season. Like if we win 4 out of our last 5, we're almost guaranteed to make the playoffs. So I think that's a good mindset to have. The players, they don't have to worry about anything else. They just got to take care of business and win those games. But yeah, it is a little bit tough. And I understand the people that don't really like it. I would be okay with, I would have preferred actually, 4 out of the last 5 and have one of those games, in the middle of the season instead of having 5 straight, which is a little bit tough. But we'll see. It could help us out too if we're like one game, but under 500 heading into that stretch and a couple games back of first place. We could easily make that ground up and win the division. So, going to be interesting. Let's see. What are the other games that we play the Bills week 3. That's a tough game in Buffalo. Falcons, Saints. What other game stands out to you out of these?
I think that Monday night game against Seattle is big because that's a game that we have historically struggled against. Is that Monday night game at home? So to see how they're going to prepare for that, and this team with Dwayne Haskins only lost by 5 points against the Seahawks last year. And the Seahawks, they've kind of been on a slide. They've got a good offense, but that defense isn't what it used to be. So I think you might get a quiet storm. Could be possible. Can Washington, can we break through this year? That's my biggest thing. And kind of revisiting what you talked about that last 5 games of the season. I liken it to eating bacon every day for breakfast, right? It's good to have it every once in a while, right? But if you're having it like for so many times in a row, you're going to have some health concerns. That's the only thing I'm talking about, with the NFC East, because I mean, there's still a heart attack in a can waiting to happen. So, but yeah, I like that Seattle game, and the defending Super Bowl champions too coming to Washington, and hopefully we can knock Tom Brady in the mouth this time.
Yeah, like that game's gonna be interesting. I mean, I think to win this division, we're gonna have to win one of those games that we're not gonna be
Mm-hmm.
favored in, and that's every year. But out of the Bills, Packers game, Bucks and Seahawks, we got to win one of those games. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and Chiefs obviously, but I mean that's a long shot. But those 5 games, got to win, and one of
Yep.
those games to, in my opinion, to win the division. Because I do think the division is going to be a little bit better. But there really aren't any gimme wins this year. There's a lot of games that we should win, but like the Chargers aren't a terrible team. Same thing with we'll see with the Falcons. Like every year, everyone's like, "Oh, this team, they got a good quarterback, they got good weapons, they're gonna figure it out." They're always projected to, well, each year goes down, but they're always, projected to win 9 games, make the playoffs. In the last couple of years, it's cooled down. So we'll see if they can finally get it together. But I think that should be a win. And there's a lot of 50-50 games. The Saints, who knows how they are this year. Broncos, I think we should win, but that's going to be a tough game too. Panthers, I think that's a game we definitely should win. That's one of the, I wouldn't say a gimme win, but I think Ron isn't going to let them win again.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I don't love the schedule, but I don't hate it as well, because I think the Eagles, they also have, like, I think they have 4 out of their last 5 games are division rivals as well. So I think there's a lot more teams with the 17 game schedule that are getting more division games at the end of the season, whether they like it or not. So Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. So let's move on to the two signings we made. Did we sign Charles Leno? Was it this week or was it last week?
I think it was it was this week.
All right. So which out of Charles Leno and Bobby McCain, which signing do you like more?
I like the Leno signing because I think there's that offensive line, because the offense is such a liability, and the overall makeup of the team. I think that getting him there, you get a guy who is consistently healthy. I think he started like the last 32 games out of 32 for the Bears. And he doesn't miss much. And he's a grinder. He was a 7th round pick. So he rose up in the ranks to be at this position. So I like that. And the only reason why they cut him was because they drafted Tevin Jenkins. So they went younger at that spot. Also, you give a guy who Sam Cosmi can learn behind, and he'll be ready to go. It's a 1-year deal, so he'll be ready to go next year. He's already got the athleticism, but you don't want to throw him out there to the Wolves just like that. So I think you've got a guy who in Leno that'll be good at left tackle, and not going to be. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he's going to be good there. And you'll have Cosmi. Hopefully, if Cornelius Lucas can get out of his feelings, he'll be a great swing tackle. And then you get rid of Jerron Christian scrub butt, right? Because Jerron, he's borderline awful, if not worse than awful. So I like the Leno signing, and slightly better than the Bobby McCain signing.
All right. What's up, Reggie Reg? What's up, Peyton? So,
What's up, guys?
I guess, how do you feel about the Bobby McCain signing then?
I like this. I like it too. I like it a lot because the guy has played like every position in the secondary. He was a nickel. Why he got that big contract was because he was so good at the nickel spot when he was in Miami. So you've got a guy who can play nickel corner. So if something happens to Kendall Fuller, you can slide him down there. If you keep Jeremy Reeves on the team, you can just put Jeremy at free safety. If Bobby is the starting free safety, and then you got to remember, Sean Davis, we thought he was going to be the free safety. And we weren't rolling with Troy Apke and Reeves at that spot. He can play corner. He can play, I think he can play a little bit of strong safety at one time, but that's not going to be his forte here. It's going to be free safety, nickel back, and not the band, just the position. So I like him, and he's a captain. He's a leader. That is something key. He was a 4-year starter at Memphis. And then Brian Flores saw that this guy is valuable in some reason. He kept him there for a while. And I think he's going to flourish in this defense as well. He adds the leadership that you need. He adds competition that'll get Troy Apke out of here. And then the versatility, the position flex, as Ron likes to call it.
Yep, I agree. Merrill Garrett, I appreciate the $2 donation. Says, guys, NFC Championship game, book it. Hey, I mean, I think we'll be able to make the playoffs, and who knows from there if Fitzpatrick turns it on. Yeah. But I would say if we get Aaron Rodgers, that statement would be true.
Hey, don't play with my emotions, man.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, I think we are at this point, we are truly like a good quarterback away from being a contender. I think Fitzpatrick can hold it down. Like, I think he can hold it down for a year or so. We'll see how, he does this year. But he's not going to really get us to that next level. He's not going to, he could get you to the playoffs to, the next 2 years if he's here for another year. But, he's not going to bring you consistency. Like, you're not going to be, obviously, since he's older, he's 38 years old, 37 years old. He's not going to be able to play for long. So, I guess, quarterback is really, or our quarterback of the future is really what's holding us back. I appreciate the donation. Reggie Reg, my guy, always in here. OG, Reggie Reg, appreciate the donation. Says, keep up the good content. Appreciate it, man. Always in here supporting. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really fun season, guys. I hope we can make the playoffs this year. How long has it been since we made it back-to-back years?
I think since Gibbs was, since Gibbs' first time around. I think that's the last time we made the playoffs back to back, and we haven't had. Well, we won't. We still got to get a winning season out of Rivera, but I think Jay was the last time we had back to back winning seasons too. So, yeah, it's a lot that you could break through on this year, getting to the playoffs back to back, and also hopefully we can get that winning season this year. 11 might be the new 10 win season now, so maybe we can get 11 wins for the first time since Gibbs was coach too. But with this schedule, who really knows, right? But we're looking at it in the lens of last year and comparing everything to last year's teams and not comparing them to what's going to happen. We've got to wait till the preseason at least get a little sniff in there.
Yeah, and I definitely think, we can make the playoffs this
Yeah.
year. I mean, repeat, but, we just got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And, we'll see. I think our offense is going to be a lot better this year. Let's hope. I think here's the thing with our defense. I don't think, statistically, our defense is going to be better than last year, but I think they will be better than last year. It's just that they play so many good offenses, especially good quarterbacks, that their stats this year might not be as good as last year, but they're going to be better. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks they faced last year. I mean, it's compared to this year. Who do they play? They played Ben DiNucci,
Just
Andy Dalton, Nick Mullins, Jalen Hurts, and Nate Sudfeld. Who else do they play? I know I'm missing some other.
good night. Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, even Teddy Bridgewater, who wasn't
Yeah.
all that. I mean, they didn't play great quarterbacks.
Nope.
What's up, ProTech Sports? What's
Tony.
up, but yeah, they didn't play good quarterbacks. But I think this year, William Jackson is definitely a upgrade. We got over Ronald Darby. We at least upgraded the safety position a little bit with getting Bobby McCain, and we'll see what Cameron Curl and Kendall Fuller do. We got Jamin Davis, who's going to be an upgrade. And I think the defensive line is going to be even better than it was last year. I think Chase Young this year is going to be out of this world. I think, honestly, might be like top 5 in defensive player of the year. I am very, very confident in, as long as he stays healthy, that he's going to ball out. Because, I mean, last year, he started off on fire. I think he had 2.5 sacks or 3 sacks in the first couple of games. Then that Browns game, he injured his groin, missed that whole game, missed the Ravens game, and he played the next few games, but still was, he was playing through that groin injury. And, I think before the Bengals game, he was like, okay, this is the first time I feel truly healthy. And that was like, what, week 9, week 10? So that was 7 weeks where he was not playing healthy. And that Bengals game, he absolutely balled out. He had that huge hit against Burrow, had a few other, couple plays. And then ever since then, he was just a menace. I think, 12, 13, 14 plus sacks this year. Very, very confident in Chase Young. And I think, our whole defensive line is going to get better this year because, they're all very young. Maybe Jonathan Allen doesn't take a huge step because he is going to be in his 5th year. But I still think Daron Payne, he's like 22, 23 years old. Montez Sweat, Chase Young. And we got Matthew Ioannidis back this year. So this defensive line is going to be even better than last year. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, man. I think this defense line is going to be better. I think you show up that linebacking core with Jamin Davis coming in there, and then you also have Cole Holcomb coming back as well. So hopefully those guys do it in the secondary. And you talked about these quarterbacks. These are some of the quarterbacks that they played last year. It was decent that first month of the season where you had like Kyler Murray and you had Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. We had Jared Goff we played against. And then towards the end of the season, I mean, it was the best quarterback that we played was Russell Wilson. And maybe Ben Roethlisberger, aging Ben Roethlisberger at that point. But those are the quarterbacks that we really played this season. And we got Joe Burrow for like 5 minutes before they decided to, break him. And I hope he'll be back and and does his thing and everything, because that was a terrible injury, but we know what it's like, what FedEx Field does to it. And then you had Tom Brady in the playoffs, which they put together. I think if the defense had have put together, had got more pressure on Brady, I think you never know. We might have been talking about something else. We might have been going to New Orleans or somewhere, or what was it? Green Bay had the 1 seed, didn't they? So we might have been going to Green Bay for all we know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I didn't even talk about the signings, but I think Bob
Mhm.
McCain, solid
Yeah.
signing. I don't know what the money is yet, but he should slide in there at free safety and be an upgrade over what we had last year, especially over the course of the whole season, because Apke was starting for us for 5-6 games. But I think here's the thing.
Mhm.
Last year his play and Reeves slash Everett's play, it was somewhat similar. I still think Bobby McCain played better than them last year, but you have to think Reeves and Everett were playing behind our D line.
Yep.
Like they were playing behind our D line, and that just makes them so much better. So I think Bobby McCain is probably gonna have the best if he does start for us. I think he's gonna have the best year of his career, or one of them, especially best year at playing free safety if he does play that. And he also can play in the slot. So I do like that's going to be a 1-year deal, prove it deal. Same with Leno.
Mhm.
The Leno signing, I'm okay. I like it. We got good value. That's what I like. We got 5 million for a guy that's started like a crazy, something like 90 games for the Bears or something crazy
Yeah.
like that since 2015. I guess they don't want. I mean, I have to trust them, and they probably don't think Cosme is ready. But I mean, I just don't like the idea of sitting a second round pick pretty much for the whole year. But if that's what you got to do to get him ready, then I'm fine. But he
Right.
better be good next year, because I just like, if you're drafting a guy in the first, second, or third round, especially at tackle, I'd rather have them start early and learn it the hard way. But I think he's going to have a lot of guys to learn under in Morgan Moses, Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas. So
Mhm.
yeah, we'll see how he does. I think Cosme, though, he's going to be good. And he could still be our swing tackle for this season, play a little bit. And who knows if someone gets hurt, and he starts, or who knows if he absolutely balls out in training camp. Maybe he is the starter, and maybe they trade Leno or trade Luke. I don't know if Lucas can fetch anything, but I mean, honestly, Lucas could probably fetch a late round swap if David Sharp from the Raiders last year. We traded for him. We had to give up something.
Mhm.
So if Sharp cost us, a late round swap, I assume the same would for Lucas. Maybe they if Cosme's looking really good, maybe they end up trading Leno or Lucas. And yeah, I think our offensive line, though, I like the depth we're building. And yeah, so I mean, this is a little off topic, but what would
Uh-huh.
be your ideal like starting lineup in the secondary? Like, so corners, assume, let's say, 2 outside corners, 1 inside, and then 2 safeties.
So I go William Jackson, because that's the top free agent pickup that you have there. I think that you're gonna go probably McCain right now. The way it looks, it'll be Bobby McCain, and I think here we go. This is it, y'all. Strong safety. You got to put Cameron Curl up there. You've got to do that. I think the kids earn that much to at least compete for that. And I think you put him right there. And then on the outside, kind of what they did before, I think that it'll be Kendall Fuller on that outside again next year, even though he's a slot corner. But I think you can go out there and maybe it'll be on those three wide out sets. So when you get a nickelback, you can slide in Fuller there and maybe St. Juice, because he's that big physical corner. And they've got some big physical wide receivers, especially early on, who they're going to play. So it's like, you got Mike Williams out there for the Chargers. I don't know if the Giants
Keenan
have
Allen.
anybody big. Yeah. Yeah. So Keenan Allen, too. So these guys might be able to go and do it. So I like William Jackson, McCain at free, Cameron Curl at strong, and then Kendall Fuller. I'll put him on the outside as well, too. And Troy
Yeah,
Apke is going to be paying the he's going to get a pink slip, so we don't have to worry about him.
yeah. I think that. Wait, who did you say at strong safety?
I put
Or not free
Cameron
safety.
Curl.
No, free
Oh,
safety.
Bobby McCain at
All
free
right.
safety. Yeah.
Yeah. So my lineup this year would be Jackson on the outside,
Mhm.
Kendall Fuller on the outside, and then Moreland in the inside. Who did you have in the inside?
I had kicking him. I kicked Fuller inside at nickel, but I could see Jimmy right there. And then I
Yes.
said maybe put St. Juice on the outside against a bigger wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that
Mhm.
makes sense, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, and then I'll have McCain and Curl in there at safety.
Mhm.
My ideal lineup, let's say in 2022,
Mhm.
would be St. Just on the outside with William Jackson on the outside, Kendall Fuller in the inside. That's a
Yeah.
great trio right there, and then you have Curl at strong safety and whoever else at free safety, whether it be a guy they get in free agency or whether it be a guy they draft in 2022. That could be the mystery free safety, or it could be Reeves, Everett, or maybe they re-sign by McCain. But there really are no holes, major holes on this defense. Yes, they could use another linebacker outside of Holcomb and Jalen Davis. They could use another linebacker, but besides that, I mean, they really don't have many holes at all.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I'm really liking what we're doing on defense, and I think as long as we stay healthy, we should be better than last year. And last year we were the second ranked defense. Partly though, like we said, because of the quarterbacks we ended up playing. So let's talk a little bit about minicamp. Any major takeaways? I know we don't really get to see much, but anything that stood out for you?
For
Rookie
for
minicamp.
rookie minicamp. I think Dax Milne. I think they said the way he ran his routes, and if you look at his draft profile, they said he runs nice routes. He did it at BYU. Interesting enough, he was a junior coming out, and I think I heard things about him. We talked about Samus Reyes before we got on here, and the key word is he's like a produce market. He's raw, and so he's got a long way to go. And I didn't hear too much out of John Bates, but John Bates I think is my dark horse in this whole thing. And I know a lot of people don't like him, but I'm just telling y'all, I'm saying just go read his draft profile, look at some of his tape. I'm going to get shot down when I say this. George Kittle. That's his ceiling. Is George Kittle. I
Yeah,
think I
yeah, go
think
ahead.
that's what it. Yeah, I think that's what it. I think George Kittle is John Bates' ceiling. Now his floor could be Jeremy Sprinkle, but with Pete Hayner, who one made Logan Thomas into the best free agent tight end last year. You go look it up. He had better numbers than homeboy at Cleveland that everybody wanted. Old Hooper. Yeah, so he had that and was getting paid like 40 times less than he was. You look at what he did with Greg Olsen, resurrecting Greg Olsen's career too. So, or creating the Greg Olsen that we knew in his late 30s. So, if John Bates is in a great situation, I think he's the best rookie tight end in the best situation. That not saying he's the best rookie tight end, but he is in the best coaching situation. Is with the master, the tight end whisperer, and Pete Hayner.
Yeah, I like John
Yeah.
Bates. I definitely like John Bates. Chris Cooley said
Yep.
that it was his favorite pick in the draft that we drafted, and
Yeah, man.
he said it was the best value, which is ironic because like everyone when we drafted him was like, "Oh, you could have gotten him in the seventh," but I trust Chris Cooley more than the normal fan. Just at least definitely
Exactly.
in terms of grading a tight end because or rating a tight end because he was a tight end, and a lot of these Logan Paulson also on his podcast with John Keim, he really liked John Bates too. He said, really fits what Washington wants to do a solid blocker,
Right.
and can develop in the pass catching game. Got really, really good hands, which opposite of Jeremy Sprinkle. So got a good catch radius, which I like. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by him. I think, yeah, Dax Milne also so far has looked pretty good. Originally I didn't really see, not that I didn't see a path for him to make the roster, but I was just thinking it was going to be hard for him to make the roster just because you got Terry, Curtis, and Brown that are absolute locks. They are
Mm-hmm.
100% going to make the roster. And then Adam Humphries, most likely going to make the roster. So that's four right there. And then after that, it's really, up for debate. But I do think Cam Sims will make it just because of the, guaranteed money he has in there. And he was with us last year. So that's five. Then you get to the group of AGG, Kelvin Harmon, Dax Milne, Isaiah Wright, and Steven Sims. I don't really see them having a chance to make the roster. But, I mean, AGG and Kelvin Harmon, I think one of those guys makes it. I really, really do. It's hard to believe they would cut a fourth round pick 1 year later,
Mm-hmm.
especially considering like the circumstances for last year. But AGG he looked really bad last year. And if he doesn't have a good training camp, if like they see that he really didn't work much on his game, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get cut. Like I think I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember who, but they were talking about Ron Rivera's press conference the other day, and someone asked him about AGG and Sadiq Charles, and then Rivera was talking like, "Oh, Sadiq Charles, he's looking really, really good. He's working he's always in the facility. He's looking good, stuff like that." And then AGG, yeah, I think he's healthy, or the trainer said he's healthy. So like he went from a glowing review of Sadiq Charles to saying, well, AGG look, he's hell or whatever. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So like it could just be that. I mean, AGG hasn't been in the facility; he's working out somewhere else. But I mean, still, that is a little bit telling. The only thing though is I do think if Kelvin Harmon and AGG are like playing, at a similar level in training camp, they're gonna obviously keep AGG because AGG was someone that they drafted,
Mm-hmm.
and he's under contract for an extra year instead of Kelvin Harmon. What do you think about like the wide receiver battle? Like, and I want you guys in the chat to put that in too. Like, what are your six receivers you think are going to make the roster?
So the six, I think, and you kind of alluded to the lock. So you got Terry, you've got Curtis Samuel, and yeah, I think, and then Brown, right? So
Yeah.
you've got those guys. I Humphreys, because he's got a good relationship with
If he's
Fitz.
healthy, he'll
Yeah,
make the roster.
right. He's good, and he can double up in punt return too if you need him to. I think that let's go Kelvin Harmon. I'll go Kelvin Harmon there because I liked what I saw to Kelvin Harmon back in 2019. And if he's healthy, I think you got to give him that spot right there. And then, ooh, and then that kind of brings it. I don't see Cam Sims making this roster. I just don't, because he's kind of hit or miss. But I think it'll come down to these three. It'll come down to AGG, Milne, who can make the practice squad, and let's go. I'll go AGG just for the heck of it because he was drafted. I like AGG was disappointing. It could be a combination of the kid had COVID last year early on, and then he had the hamstring. Yeah, concussion training camp, had a hamstring injury. So it's kind of like he just had it was just a storm of one thing after another with him. Now, if this comes into this year, go on, and kind of what you alluded to with what Ron said. So Ron is, although he's riverboat, sometimes he can be a bad poker player, and he can show his hand. He's excited about Sadiq Charles, but AGG, huh? So it's like kind of saying like, oh well, he's on the crap list for the coach already, and we will see. I always say we got to wait and see what's going to happen. But I think 4 roster spots are already claimed for. I don't think there's a problem there. And then I think the last 2 are going to be a battle between 4 players to see what they do. And somebody made an interesting comment. I think I was listening to Al Galdi's podcast, and he said something about maybe if you really like Kelvin Harmon and AGG, yeah, tight end, because we did that with Niles Paul, and nobody would think Niles Paul, even when he switched to tight end, he may have put on a little bit of weight, but he nowhere looked like a tight end. He was still returning kicks, but the Shanahans did that because they liked what he brought to the team and they wanted to keep him on the roster. So, and like what Al said on his podcast on Thursday, he was just like, hey, you want a pass catcher. If you want pass catchers here, you keep them there and you find a way to be creative with the roster. That could be something right there, because these guys, you can't tell me these guys don't look bigger than Tamarick Hemingway.
Yeah. So let's see. I'll read some of the some people put it in the chat. So let's see. Frazier said Terry, Curtis, Diami, Cam, and then Adam and Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton the Great said Terry, Samuel, Brown, Sims, Humphreys, Harmon, AGG. So that is what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. And then had a couple a clip said Terry, Curtis, Diami, Humphreys, Cam Sims, and Kelvin. So I think this is why training camp is going to be so interesting. Or not training camp. Preseason is going to be so important and really, really interesting, because we got, a bunch of people fighting for a spot. Like you said, Kelvin Harmon, Cam Sims, Dax Milne, AGG, all those guys. And you can, whatever, throw in Steven Sims and Isaiah Wright in there. If they somehow go crazy, maybe. But those 4 guys are going to be really, really fighting for those last 2 spots. And it's going to be interesting to see. And yeah, Keim has mentioned for a while that he thinks that there is some interest there in them moving Harmon to tight end, because he's a very, very good blocker. Like,
Yes.
he is really, really good. And even Chris Cooley said coming out of college, like right after we drafted him, he was like, I kind of see him as like an H-back, like someone who can block and be a good pass catcher as well. And similar to what Chris Cooley did in his career. And I think, if you want to keep Kelvin Harmon on the roster, that's a possibility. He does have to put on some weight, 10 to 15 pounds. But I still think that would be interesting right there. But yeah, I think that's going to be one of the most, that's going to be one of the craziest battles, intriguing battles of the offseason. And it might be like, what else can you do? Like, for that last guy, those last couple of guys, what else can you do? Can you play special teams? Because Cam Sims, I mean, the first, like, he made this roster last year because of special teams.
Right.
Worked his way up. Like, in the first few games of the season, he was playing really good as that gunner. And if someone else can do that, or if someone can start punt returning, like if Dax Milne could be a punt, I don't need someone. It would be nice to have a Deshaun Jackson back there, someone super flashy. But I mean, Trey Quinn, as much as I didn't like it when he was our punt returner, looking back, much rather have Trey Quinn as a punt returner than Steven Sims, because at least with Trey Quinn, 100% of the time he's catching it. It might be a 1 yard, a 2 yard gain every time, but at least he's going to catch it. Steven Sims, there's a 50% chance of him fumbling it
and costing us the game against Carolina, right?
Yeah. So, like, at this point, because also, like, I'm at the point where, especially these last couple of years, don't return any kicks, don't return any punts, because I mean, because especially on the kicks, when you're getting them at the 25, like, there's gonna be, there's super small chance of a fumble, and there's also a big chance of a penalty. Like, there's like 1 in every 4 kicks are a penalty. So and then there's also a chance you're not going to get to the 25. So just stay in the end zone. And I would say the same thing for a punt returner unless you're one of those elite guys. So maybe Dax Milne can make the roster based off that because AGG, he's not going to be punt returning. Kelvin Harmon, I don't think he's going to be punt returning. So Dax Milne is really the only receiver that could possibly do that. Maybe De'Ami Brown, but I think like obviously Terry's not going to punt return. Curtis isn't. Like I think once you don't want one of your best receivers punt returning. So, and that's why I think maybe even De'Ami Brown, they might not want him to punt return if they really, really like how he's developing. But who do you think is going to be our punt returner this year?
Huh. That's a good question. And I forgot about this guy because Travis Davis, I think this guy might be a drug dealer because he's all about the speed, man. And I forgot about Isaiah Wright. I forgot all about him. I don't think he's gonna make the team, but I like my punt returns to have a little bit more speed, and they can field. The one thing I got frustrated with Trey Quinn is the same reason why I got frustrated with Antonio, not Antonio, but Antoine Randall way back in the day. They would scamper and they wouldn't do anything. They would go they would always go, yeah. They go right to left. They'd never go up. I want somebody that's gonna go downfield. I want to go straight. Don't just juke and jive because it's gonna kill you. I think at the end of the day, Dax Milne, he will make a push for that. Adam Humphries could as well because he may be your number 3 wide receiver. Curtis Samuel, you could put him back there too. This guy can do almost anything. So I think those may be your candidates back there as punt returner. But like you said, most of the time, because our special teams, our return game has been atrocious on both sides. I can't remember the last time we returned a punt for a touchdown. I've seen kickoff returns for touchdowns, but I don't remember the last time we've returned one off of another punt team. And I think in 2010 maybe.
Did Crowder ever return one? Or
yes.
No?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did against Baltimore in 2016. Yeah, he did. That's the last one I think, and I think he even had a kickoff return in that season too. So I like Crowder had his fumbling problems. Yeah, I remember in 2017 when we played the Raiders, he was the reason why we ended the shutout because he fumbled and the Raiders scored like 3 plays later. So I mean. That's kind of like what you're alluding to. There's a happy medium you got to find. Do you want somebody who can field it, or do you want somebody that can get your offense some yardage? And it's going to depend on how this offense is too, right? Because if you've got an offense that is kind of stagnant, which
you want that flashy guy.
Right, you want that guy. But if you've got an offense that's conservative, but they can play and they can stretch the field, or either conservative or stretch the field, right? Where we've got De'Ami Brown, Terry, we know he can eat. You got somebody who can work the Curtis Samuel, who can double up as a running back too, right? So it's where you want to go, and it kind of depends on what your flavor is. Some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, some people like strawberry. It just depends on what kind of ice cream do you like with your punt returner.
Yeah, and I think that someone like I didn't like Isaiah Wright returning punts last year. I think he fumbled one against the Giants, and then they took him out. But that could be a situation where I don't think Isaiah Wright, because I don't think he's going to make the roster, and I think he's not going to get claimed by another team. I don't think he would. So I think that's a situation where you bring him back to the practice squad because he seems like a good guy. He seems like a guy that the coaches like. You bring him to the practice squad, and they can call up. I don't know how many games, but like it might be 4 or 5 games where you can call the guy up to the 55-man roster because on Sundays it's 55.
Right.
And then you can have someone like Isaiah Wright, maybe Dax Milne if he doesn't make the roster. One of those 2 guys, if they don't make the roster, call them up and have them punt return for a few weeks. And, there's always going to be injuries. So eventually maybe one of our receivers gets hurt and then those guys make the roster, Dax Milne or Isaiah Wright, because Cam Sims did it that way last year. He didn't make the original roster, got called up for the first few games this season, and then ended up making the roster. And, he didn't play amazing, but he had like 480 yards in really like 10 games of play, 11, 12 games of play. So I think Cam Sims is going to make it just because I think the coaches like him. He's been in the system already, and they have more guaranteed money towards him. So I definitely don't think he's a lock, but I think he's going to be that fifth or sixth receiver in that rotation, who can provide a big spark. Because he's had like there was a few games where he had like huge plays, like big plays. He had like that big touchdown against the Giants. He had some big plays against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
He had some big like 3 or 4 big plays against the Steelers. So I don't love Cam Sims, but I do think he can be a solid rotational receiver. He is on a 1-year deal, so maybe they rather have someone like Dax Milne instead of him. But I'm liking, we have a lot of competition, especially at receiver, tackle, and what am I missing? Not tackle,
Yeah.
receiver, offensive line, and the safety position. Because what do we have? How many safeties usually make it? Like 4 safeties?
Yeah,
Is it
you usually
4?
got about 4 or 5.
So what do you think? What are the 4 safeties that you have making the roster? Because that's another one where it's like a lot of competition.
Ugh. So I've got, I guess at free we'll put I'll put McCain right now. And like I say, it could be a Sean Davis thing. We never know. And I think Jeremy Reeves did enough last year to earn a roster spot. Well, you'll see what he does in preseason, right? On the opposite side, I think that you'll have Cam Curl, of course, and then just because nobody's going to take that daggone contract, Landon Collins. But I hate to say that because I think that, and then you sit there and you're like, who else do you have? And those are 2 other questions, right? Do you keep the Shazer on the team, right? Because the Shazer, he's been here. He's like the longest. He's like been here the longest out of anybody. I'm pretty sure he's been here since 2015.
Tress Way,
yeah, him and Tress Way are the longest.
Hopkins is probably the longest, right? 2014.
15. Hopkins was 15 because he came in like week 2 of 2015. So you've got a guy that's been there. He's a captain. Is he the 5th guy? And Troy Apke, I get he's got a lot of speed and everything, and that's what people like. That jumps off the screen at him. But one thing that these guys can do that I've mentioned, they can do multiple things. DeShazer Everett, he was a strong safety coming in here, and he's good on special teams. He's got a captain because he was a special teams player, and then he played free safety the majority of last season.
Yeah.
So and then McCain can do it. Reeves, maybe not as much. And Cam Curl, he played free safety at Arkansas. So you've got these guys, and then you've got the best linebacker, second best linebacker on the team playing strong safety, and the highest paid guy in that secondary in Landon Collins. So, It is what it is, man.
I think people are really, really sleeping on Troy Apke. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm sleeping on it. Look, I'm sleeping. You can I'm Snow White sleeping on Troy Apke. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm just playing because there's nothing, in my opinion, he can do to make this roster. Actually, I'm not gonna say that because there is preseason, so he is gonna be able to actually play like in a with contact, because the media was talking, oh man, Troy Apke looks so good this training camp. Man, he is amazing. Like hyping him up so much, acting like he was a Pro Bowl safety. And first few snaps of that Eagles game, you knew it wasn't true. You knew it wasn't true. So maybe with a preseason, that'll help him out. I still don't think he's going to make the roster, but it's another really, really intriguing position because they drafted Derek Forrest in the 5th round. So, you got to assume you got to assume he's going to make the roster, right? I
Yeah.
mean, fifth round pick.
I forgot about Derek
Like
Forrest. Yeah.
he's probably going to be the DeShazier Everett replacement because
Mm-hmm.
he was like a special teams like or I don't know if he's a captain for special teams, but he was a really good special teams player
Yeah.
at Cincinnati. So I mean, maybe they keep 5, but I mean, that's another where it's like, how are you going to get all those guys on the roster? Same thing with like the offensive line. I mean, there's a lot of guys like, I mean, Jerron Christian and
Mhm.
Wes Martin were starting for us last year, and they might both get cut. I don't know about Wes Martin, but Jerron Christian probably gonna get cut. What's up, Ed Oliver? Shout out, Ed. Uh,
Yeah.
we got that Wizards win today. Let's see if we can get it done on Tuesday, 9 p.m. TNT against the Celtics. Man, that game today.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was an ugly first 2.5 quarters, especially for Beal and a little bit Westbrook. But glad we got that win, and let's hope we can get that 7 seed and avoid that last game. But yeah, you didn't watch the Wizards game, right?
I didn't watch it, but I've been watching them. I've been watching, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, the damn Washington Wizards. But they are, they're doing their thing right now. I have this hard, like, I'm in this moral dilemma. Like, I want the Wizards to do good, but Scott
I
Brooks
know what
ain't
you're gonna
it.
say.
Scott
Yeah,
Brooks ain't it. Like, we got to end. I know Ed and Scott Brooks they got each other's cell phone numbers. Like, they text and they have a great time. I think Ed might have been at his house one day this week. And, so I get it. But at the end of the day, I want my team to win, but at what cost? Right? It's just like, oh God, I'm happy to see him win, and I love that Russ is cooking, man. But there's still a lot of problems
yeah.
on this team. And I think it begins with Scotty B.
Yeah, we won't talk about the Wizards too much
Yeah,
more,
yeah, yeah.
but I feel like I hear that. Like when I listen to Kevin Sheehan podcast, I always hear them saying that. Like we won't talk about the Wizards for too much, but one thing I'll say, it's like I know it doesn't really matter who starts in games because it really just matters how many minutes they get. But like they have Alex Len starting when he's by far the worst center on our team. I mean, you got Gafford, who's our best defensive center and, provides a spark on offense. And you got like
Right.
hook shot master Robin Lopez, who had 18 points today. Like Glenn doesn't need any minutes at all, especially in the playoffs. I swear if I see him in that starting lineup again, I'm going to go crazy. But Redskin 007, I appreciate the $10 donation. I'm hanging my hat on the defense, and I feel good about it. Shakatoni is a dark horse. College tape is impressive. High IQ. Let's go HTTR. We go into the playoffs. Cheers. Appreciate the donation. Hey, I'm excited about this defense. I think, like I said, statistically, we might not be better than last year because of the competition that we play, but I do think we will be better. We upgraded at the cornerback position, upgraded at safety, upgraded at linebacker. Our defensive line is going to be better this year again.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Ioannidis is coming back. So I love this defense. And Shakatoni, yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be playing linebacker for us, a little bit of, situational pass rusher as well. I don't really read in too much to the numbers, but I think he's like listed at 56 or 58, and that's a linebacker number. So, I mean, like you said, that's a dark horse guy, and it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. I like him, though, and I think he can make an impact. Can't wait to see, because the first couple of days of minicamp, they've only been showing highlights of the offensive players because they've been on the defensive players have been on the other side. So hopefully soon we can see more of the Shakatoni, William Bradley King, Benjamin St. Just, James Davis, all these guys, because I'm excited because
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think our defense got better. And I think our defense is going to be able to carry us in these games. And, if we get out ahead early, we can rely on the run game and we can just, we don't have to have Ryan Fitzpatrick throw the ball 40 times. We don't want that. We
No.
want to win the game with our defense. And maybe that's why Fitzpatrick might work here in DC, because when has he had a defense like this? I don't think he's ever had one. And with Miami this past season, their defense was pretty good. and he was pretty successful in there. Still turned the ball over a little bit more than I would like, but it wasn't like a crazy amount. So if our defense can, just dominate like they did last year, I
Yeah.
think we don't have to rely too much on Fitzpatrick, and we'll be able to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and he had a good defense in Houston, where I think they went and he was 6-6 as a starter. I think the Jets didn't have a bad defense when they went 10-6, but they need to win one game to do it. And I'm not going to go on my Ryan Fitzpatrick rant because you already know how I feel about that. But hopefully, I'm hoping for the best with him, because his key thing is, when you expect the world out of him, he's going to be terrible. If you expect nothing out of him, he's going to be great. That's the thing about Fitz. Even in a lot of his good games with the Dolphins last year, I think outside of dominating San Francisco, a lot of these good games, these were spot duty. This was relief. The best play of the NFL season, let's be honest, was Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing that ball with his helmet twisted off. Right? That was in spot duty. Wasn't it? That was in spot duty, right? They took Tua out of that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they took Tua out and put
they took Tua out of that game. That's when I had COVID, so I had that brain. I just was like knocked out.
This season.
Yeah. So
he
I'm
was better than Tua.
Yeah, he in spot duty he was better than Tua, but you're comparing a 16-year veteran to a rookie who was coming off of hip surgery not too long ago. That's my thing with that whole situation. I'm not going to take anything away from him. People are saying, the QBR, which we know that QBR wins you games, not the scoreboard. But it is what it is. So I hope Fitz can come out here and do some good things for us. I really do. I hope he can shut me up, because I'm going to be the first person to say I was wrong about Ryan Fitzpatrick. And we're in the playoffs, and we're like 12-5, and Ryan Fitzpatrick's the starter from top to bottom. I'm going to be like, you know what? I was wrong about this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this right here is way off topic, but I was just wondering time about Tua. I was thinking, everyone, like Mel Kiper, when we were in 2020, when we were drafting, he was like, Washington has to take Tua Tagovailoa, has to take him. Chase Young's great, but they don't have a quarterback. I'm happy we took Chase Young over Tua. Obviously, it's a different story with Justin Herbert. But the thing is, and Kime said this earlier this past season, which I am really happy about. He said that if we were to take a quarterback, we would have taken Herbert instead of Tua. So that shows, at least for that draft, we knew how to, our front office, or at least, because our front office is a bit different now than it was then. We still got some guys there that they liked Herbert over Tua, which we already know how that turned out. I mean, Tua still could be good, but Herbert had 30 touchdowns in his rookie year. So I'm glad about that. And I think, they got to get their franchise guy this year. They got to, whether it be a disgruntled quarterback, Sean Watson, we all know how that situation's going out, but who knows how that's looking like in a year. I don't think it's going to happen, but Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, who knows who the next disgruntled quarterback is, because you would have told me last year or 1 year ago from today that Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson all were possibly
right.
traded. No one is going to think that. So there's probably going to be another guy available. And then also, if that doesn't work, trade up or get your guy in the draft, because I'm much more willing to trade up this next year than last year, because we don't really have that many major holes. So last year, or this past season in the 2020 draft or 2021 draft, if we would have traded our first round, second round, and next year's first to go up and get Fields, we wouldn't have had Jamin Davis, which is a huge need at linebacker. We wouldn't have had one of our third round picks, which is De'Ami Brown or Benjamin St. Juste, and we wouldn't have had a first round pick the year after that. So our quarterback would have been in a situation, still an okay situation, but still some holes to fill. Next year, we won't really have many holes to fill, and it really will just be the quarterback of the future that we need to address. So I'm much more willing to trade up next year than I was this year. How about you?
Yeah, I think you're kind of on to something, but if we look at the grand scheme of things, the greatest quarterbacks in Washington history have never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mark Ripken was a dude. Doug Williams was a dude. They're great Washington. They're great players that won Super Bowls for the Redskins. But in the grand scheme of things, you can tell the story of the NFL without these guys. When I think of great quarterbacks, I think of Theismann to an extent. But Sonny Jurgensen, you think of Sammy Baugh, and kind of even to the sense now. And I'm going off topic here too, Pedro. Remember when we traded for Alex Smith? Yeah. A lot of people didn't like it. I was one of the people that didn't like it. But when Alex Smith got to play, we were like, this guy is halfway decent. And then people were like, well, he's not throwing touchdowns and everything. I guarantee you now, if we had healthy Alex Smith pre-leg break coupled with this roster now, what Merrill said would be true. That would be an NFC championship game appearance team because he does everything right. He dink and dunk, but they relied on speed and everything. So I think that, we don't need a great quarterback. Now, would it be good? But we've got guys, we can win with dudes. We can win with dudes that have, I even think, Lord have mercy, I'll probably get shot down for saying this too. Washington now could do damage with Kirk Cousins.
Definitely.
They could with the defense and everything. They could do some damage with Kirk Cousins. That's not going to happen, but they could with somebody like that. And it's just saying because Kirk Cousins, he's a slightly above average player, average most of the time, but you can do that. You can do that with him. And if you want to trade up, we've seen that a lot of these. It's mid-round picks, mid first rounders, and mid-round picks, like maybe day 2 guys that are the ones that are kind of doing things in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, right? He was the second or third quarterback taken.
Second.
So he was the second quarterback taken, and somebody had to trade up to get him. Nobody thought he was going to be that great. So I'm not going to sell the farm to trade up into the top 10, but we can trade up for a quarterback. I'm cool with it. So,
I agree. What's up, Jared? What's up, Camden, my guys? What do you think about this season heading into training camp and preseason? What are your biggest holes we still need to fill besides quarterback of the future, obviously?
I think I'd like to see more competition at linebacker. I would. KJ Wright is still out there. Good 4-3 linebacker. And he's a little bit older, but he can bring that in there. I think linebackers key to the whole defense, right? Because that's where you're going to have your quarterback of your defense. You got your middle linebacker, somebody that can call out. That might be Jamin Davis, but I think that is the biggest place you need to add somebody at is probably a linebacker. But you can always, we got so many tight ends, right? But I think you can always add competition there as well in running back. I think you can never have enough running backs. And Peyton Barber, we know what Peyton Barber is, right? He had the most touchdowns, but they were all point blank range touchdowns. And honestly, his best game probably was the bookend games, the one at home against Philadelphia, and then on the road where he had a couple of nice runs that got him first down. So
he had a good game against Dallas too on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. That was another good game he had. But I think we need somebody that can come in here. Maybe Jared Patterson is the guy that can be right there beside Antonio Gibson and can be that power back, because you look at these Super Bowl teams, they don't have elite running backs. They have guys that are pretty good that are hybrids that can do they can run the ball and they can also catch out of the backfield. That's what and that's what you need. And then they might have some guy who can come in there and be that power back.
Yeah, I agree. I think we got to add someone else. We don't need to add someone else at linebacker, but that's definitely a hole heading into the season.
Yeah.
We'll see though. Shaka Toney could be that guy. He's not a true necessary linebacker, but who knows? I like Khalil Hudson as well.
Yeah.
I think he showed a little bit of some flashes, but obviously you don't want to rely on him, but we'll see at that. And then running back, I think they're probably set at running back. Not necessarily that I don't think it's a hole, but I don't think they're going to necessarily add someone else. But Gibson, who knows if he can stay healthy over a 17-game season? Just because running backs get banged up a lot. And J.D. McKissick, I love J.D. McKissick, but I don't think he's you don't want to rely on him to get more than 10 carries in a game. You want him to get 5-6 carries a game plus 5-6 catches a game. So that's what you want with him. Let's see. Peyton the Great said linebackers and unknown. I agree. And then so I'm interested though to see Jarrett Patterson and even Peyton Barber. We'll see how he plays out. Lamar Miller also could, because he hasn't been healthy in a while, but if he's healthy heading into the season, that could be your third guy. He could take the load if Gibson gets hurt. Rev said, and we'll answer a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day. Can you talk about the QB competition and if there's a chance Taylor can be the starter? So I don't think there's a big, really a big chance that Taylor Heinicke is the starter. I think they paid $10-12 million to Fitzpatrick. I think unless there's an injury or unless Heinicke looks absolutely, incredible, clearly better than Fitzpatrick, not only in training camp, but also in the preseason games, then I definitely think Heinicke could be the starter. But also, Fitzpatrick has been pretty durable in his career. I know he's been he hasn't started that many games in a season. He hasn't had many seasons where he started all the games, but he's been relatively healthy. Heinicke's gotten hurt, almost every single game he's played. But I think there's a small chance Heinicke could be the starter if he's head and shoulders above Fitzpatrick and Kyle Allen heading into the season. But I do think it's going to be Fitzpatrick. And, I'd probably rather have Heinicke as the backup, but I wouldn't be surprised if Allen was the backup too, because they like him. They really, really like him. They traded a 5th-round pick for Kyle Allen, and the only reason they signed Heinicke last season was for an emergency quarterback. Obviously, they like him better now, but I do think overall they like Allen better.
Yeah, I think when you look at Taylor Heinicke, I see that. If he was really that, if they were really highly impressed with this guy, right, they would have signed him after Allen went down and just had him there. Because Allen went down in mid-October, I think it was. When did we play the Giants at home? Yeah, it was mid-October. It was October. 6, I think. Yeah. So it was October. They could have brought this cat on then, but they waited until December to do that. And I get he had a great game against Tampa, right? He had a great game. Let's not take it away from him. And he did good against Carolina. I think if he had played that game, had a good shot of winning. If he had played in that, it got in there after halftime instead of in the fourth quarter, would have won that game. But like you said, Ryan Fitzpatrick is durable. He doesn't have a major history of injury. I think maybe about 10 years ago, he had an injury in Buffalo where he missed a significant amount of time, but he's been durable. And as reckless as he plays, sometimes that's impressive. Taylor has had a history of injury. Kyle Allen has, we don't know what that leg's going to be like, that foot's going to be like when he comes back. And also, if you look at Kyle Allen's history, he is a sack machine. And when I say a quarterback is a sack machine, that's not good. I get that they like him. I get that they like what he did. He started off really well in 2019. Then the bottom fell out for him. And He was the quarterback when Washington came down there, and Ron Rivera's fired next week, right? They fired the next day. And I really do think it's Fitzpatrick's job. And like I said, this is a guy, I'm not a Fitzpatrick guy, but I'm like, I see the writing on the wall. They paid the guy $10 million with where he can make up to $12 million. So they're going to roll with him. They're going to roll with him.
And one underrated part of Fitzpatrick's game is that he does not get sacked much. He does not get sacked. Like, I don't know what exactly it was, but I was listening to some pod, and it was like he's like one of the top 30, 40 quarterbacks of all time in terms of sack percentage. So I mean, like that. I mean, obviously that's not absolutely insane, but that's pretty good right there. Let me see how many times he got sacked last year. I think that's like he's not extremely mobile, but he's mobile enough. So I mean, he got sacked I think 12 times last year, which isn't like crazy in 9 games. But he did get sacked a bunch in 2019 with Miami. And yeah, I mean, Ed in the chat said Heineke's better than Allen. And yeah, I think, I mean, it's just, I probably rather have Heineke as a backup because I think, more upside. But I think they like Allen better. And really with Heineke, you don't know. It's just one. We've only really seen one game with him.
And you talk about like the sacks, right? And kind of what I brought up about Kyle Allen. Heineke doesn't do that. That play that he ran to the end zone, right? Which is the legend of Taylor Heineke. You can get the shirt now. That was a play that was busted. That was a sack. That play was a sack. So we can't sit here and say like Kyle Allen is this do-all, end-all. Honestly, I'm cool going into the season, Pedro, and y'all going to hit me over the head when I say this. I'm cool if they have 2 quarterbacks and it's Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke. I'm cool with that. I know that's not going to be the case, but I can live and I can sleep at night saying that those are the 2 quarterbacks we're rolling, and if that means keeping 7 wide receivers, I can live with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do at running back, because they kept 4 running backs last year.
Yep.
Let's see if they keep 3 this year. If they do keep 3, that allows another spot somewhere else on the roster. So maybe they like Patterson, but they don't like him that much, and let's say they put in Lamar Miller, Gibson, and McKissick, and have Patterson on the practice squad and call him up, and then they can have that extra roster spot at receiver or something, or maybe even safety, because I mean the safety, like we said, it's going to be crowded with with Curl, Collins, Bobby McCain, possibly Derek Forrest, Reeves, Everett. That's 6 guys right there that all 6 of those guys last year would have made our roster, and 2 of them are probably going to get cut. At least one of those guys are going to get cut. And hey, maybe with this like a bunch of depth at these positions, maybe they might be able to get like some trade compensation heading into the season. I doubt it, but they could get like a late round swap, and I mean that's fine. Like that's fine.
Yeah, I think Pedro, I think we're selling this short. Like, I think Washington fans, we really need to stop and realize this. This roster, there is not really one area on this team where it looks like we know the majority of this team. We might know maybe about 25% of the team that's probably going to make the roster. They are building competition at every position. This is a trial by fire for a division championship team who was 7-9, but they were the best team in the NFC East last year.
Yeah.
And they built it on their best side, defense. They've went out and got people to push people. Now, granted, you might want to go out there and see if you can get another pass rusher or something like that. That's probably another place we need to do. And then on offense, there is competition at every single spot, and this team will be better for it. the days of, Jay Gruden, where we could point out about 70-80% of the roster, and we knew like maybe 5 guys that were that may be shockers, but there's no longer shockers. There's no longer no shock. Yeah, he could come back. He could be. I'm all for it if he comes on a veteran minimum deal. But yeah, competition will breed success for this team, and I'm looking forward to it, man. This is exciting.
And
It's exciting.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes, but also, like, I think Steven Montez could make he'll probably be a practice squad guy.
Oh God!
You thought I was gonna say make the real roster?
No, yes, I was like, oh God, old Spanish Jesus, as third down always calls him.
But I mean, like, I think Ben Standig and Keim talked about, like, they're intrigued by using him as a Taysom Hill type of quarterback. So, like, I think if they can get, obviously not to his level, but if they can develop him into something, have him on the practice squad, and that could be in a few games this season. You call him up, see what he can do. But I don't really think there's much there. But it's going to be interesting as well. A lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of guys that get cut that would have made the roster last year. And it just shows how much better we've gotten from the beginning of last year to this year. Also, this is the last thing I'll say. I think it's an underrated thing in this minicamp. I think the rookies are going to be much better this year than they normally are or not much better, but a little bit better because they're usually in minicamp, there's like 50-something guys. There is 16 guys in minicamp, so each coach is with 1, maybe 2 players. So they are going to get, first off, they're going to get a bunch of a bunch of reps, but also, they're going to know what they need to work on because they've gotten a bunch of reps. What do they have? Like a couple weeks off until actual OTAs or minicamp. And then they're going to be able to implement that, do it again once OTAs are over, and then do it again in training camp. So I'm excited. I think these rookies are going to have, a head up a little bit, compared especially to last year. I mean, last year, Gibson, a little slow start. AGG obviously was not good, and others as well. So, we'll see with this rookie class, and I'm excited, definitely excited. So, guys, appreciate you guys for coming in, and appreciate Corey for coming on the channel. I'll put his link in the chat. Make sure you guys sub him up. He's close to 2K. Doing a giveaway over there. So make sure you guys sub him up, man. Appreciate you coming on, Corey.
Appreciate you, Pedro. Thanks as always, brother.
Yep, no problem. Peace, guys.